Well, Defense, are you ready? Defense, keep your wits about you.
Ha! Right, my wits!
Defense. According to the application that was submitted, your name is, Naruhodo Ryutaru. Is that correct? I had to come up with the man's name on the spot. So I just made one up and filled it in on the application. Defense, say something.
Yes, I'm Naruhodo in the flesh.
This is one of those things that we're, I think I might want to change this. Hold on a second. I might need to change that in the script later on. So what it is in the Japanese is that she said are, boku, and what? Well, I'm pretty sure she said a lot of different pronouns. And the problem is it's really hard to translate that into English because there's just no like real translation to it. But I think what I'm gonna change that, where she's like saying I'm she or he or something like that. Adding she or he somewhere into this later on when I put this in the LP, so. Sorry, that sounded weird in English to me because I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I was really confused by that particular piece of dialogue. I think you might have gone a bit overboard using the rough masculine pronoun. But if you could settle those darting eyes down and open your ears instead, that would be for the best.
Naruhodo? This is the first time I've ever seen your face here in the Supreme Court. But you said Naruhodo, yes? Could you mean that Naruhodo?
Yes, the Naruhodo Ryanosuke-kun, who is currently studying in English, is his,
He's my cousin.
Yeah, it really is. He's currently studying law locally and was summoned here for this trial. His knowledge of the law is second to none in this imperial city.
I'm second to none. Oh dear, that's rather pathetic. The Imperial City's defense attorneys refused your request, so you are forced to depend on the likes of this hick student. Susato-chan is a handsome defense attorney. You'll pay for your mockery.
Susato-chan?
Tori-sama. Quite the tomboy, aren't you? But are you sure you're alright with this? This supposed handsome defense attorney. His eye seems to be darting around like crazy. I feel nearly numb from nerves. Now that I'm in this position for myself, I'm finally understand Naruhodo-sama. The darting eyes are involuntary.
The case we'll be addressing in this trial today is incredibly important to our nation. This trial will have repercussions on the future of the great Japanese Empire.
Not unlike the case 9 months ago. Is it really okay to have an unknown local student as the presiding defense attorney in a case like this?
It seems that before we begin this trial, we ought to have a quiz to determine whether this man is qualified to stand at the defense's bench in the Supreme Court. 9 months ago, when he stood in this court, he was tested too on his qualifications to act as a defense attorney. Though he was only a student, he rose splendidly to the occasion. You're a legal aid. This should be no problem for you. I will now proceed to ask some simple questions to the defense.
If there was ever a time that I need to prepare myself, this is it.
I love how she just mimics all of Naruto's poses.
Go right ahead, Your Honor. Please go easy on me.
Now then, let's begin. Please state the name of the victim in this case.
I should be able to do that. I couldn't figure her name even if I tried. Huh?
What's wrong?
Now that I'm in this position for myself, I finally understand. Naruto-sama.
I will try.
The way the mind goes blank is completely involuntary.
I'll try. Well, this is your first time acting as a defense attorney, and your first time wearing that disguise. It's no surprise that even someone as level-headed as you can turn forgetful.
Oh, this is the gravest blunder of my life.
In this case, you should be able to rely on your knowledge as a legal aid to get you through this.
That's right, the court record. All the case information is in the court record.
Correct. First, touch the court record button displayed on the bottom screen. Then, this is the tutorial. Look in the profiles. You better hurry. The judge is watching you.
First, I have to touch the court record button. All the pertinent information should be there.
Now then, defense, your answer, please. What is the name of the victim in this trial? Wow, let's go with the name that's literally all in katakana and not in kanji. Giselle Bullet. We have to have the tutorials.
The victim's name is Giselle Bullet. Giselle Bullet.
That's a name the administration of justice in this country will never forget. Precisely. Anyone involved in this country's administration of justice ought to know the significance of that name. You do well to memorize that name here and now as well. Giselle Bullet was an exchange student sent by England. What was it that ensured that her name would be etched into the history of our country's administration of justice? Okay, Nightbot. I need to fix that, I guess. I don't even know. The incident 9 months ago. I doubt you could have forgotten, but her true identity is as recorded in the court record. You've got this, right?
Of course, I remember. That case was the beginning of everything. Giselle Bullet. Her identity, hidden behind her status as an exchange student, was...
The victim? The Queen of England. She didn't give me that. Oh, she didn't give me the dialogue for that. So the answer is a murderer from 9 months ago.
9 months ago, a doctor at Yuma University was murdered, and the perpetrator was Giselle Bullet.
A murderer. At the time, our nation had just signed a new alliance treaty with the Great British Empire. The murder occurred in the midst of that incredibly unusual international situation. The victim was Dr. John H. Watson. He was English. As I recall, he was an acquaintance of yours, Professor Mikatoba. Formerly, when I studied in London, he taught me forensic pathology. I owe him a great deal. The one who invited him to Yuma University as a professor was me. The murder of an Englishman was a case that our nation's government wanted resolved as quickly as possible. And so the Supreme Court tried the case in a top-secret trial. The one who was arrested as a suspect was a student of the Yuma Imperial University, Naruhodo Ryanosuke. He was a sophomore in the English department. He defended himself with the help of his best friend, a student defense attorney. Rip Zogi! Giselle Bullet was revealed as the despicable perpetrator. Giselle Bullitt ultimately confessed to her crime, but why did she kill Professor Watson in the first place? The trial concluded without ever establishing a motive.
Right after the trial concluded, the British government invoked consular jurisdiction. We were unable to convict Giselle Bullitt in our country, and she was relocated to Shanghai. Shanghai.
Great Britain has a consular court in Shanghai, you see. I personally handled the negotiations and coordination for her relocation. But it was only last week that the date for her transfer was finalized. All that was left to do was for her to board the steamship, and our country's role in the incident would be finished.
And it was on the eve of her relocation that the English lady was murdered. The eve of her relocation?
In any case, the court recognizes this man's qualifications.
Thank you very much. I made it through.
Now then, let's begin by reviewing the facts of the case. If you please, Prosecutor Ouchie.
As you wish, Your Honor. The fearsome incident occurred in broad daylight on August 11th. On the outskirts of the Imperial City, beneath a clear blue sky, it was at a swimming area at the beach, with the scent of a salty sea breeze in the air. Inside a small hut that had been constructed as a changing and break room. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the back with a knife. The blade pierced her lungs. Apparently, it was a fatal wound.
I know, right?
There were only 2 people present at the scene of the crime in the hut. The swimsuited Giselle Bullitt and the defendant, Murasami Haori. The perpetrator couldn't possibly be anyone else. Additionally, this girl had an extremely compelling motive. And that's why the police immediately proceeded with the arrest.
Yes. I will be posting them. How shall I put this? I find myself at a loss for words due to the rather unnatural conditions you just described.
He's right. There were several phrases in that prosecutor's information that caught my ear. As a lawyer, the phrase I feel like I'd better ask for more information about is...
Swimming? Just the 2 of them? An extremely compelling motive. The last one. We're gonna ask that. Extremely compelling motive. He didn't tell us what the motive was.
Extremely compelling? Could the prosecution please refrain from exaggerating? Oh my, listen to this hick student with the exaggerated expression. What? Ah well, let's try asking the defendant, shall we? Apparently, the defendant is an assistant in the medical research lab. Yes, I'm currently assisting in Professor Mikatoba's lab.
Murasami-kun is very responsible and a huge help.
How nice. Then allow me to ask just one other question. Which lab were you assisting in before you started in Professor Mikatoba's lab? Huh? Well... I was studying in the lab of Dr. John H. Watson.
Did you say Dr. Watson? But that's the professor who was murdered by Giselle Bullitt 9 months ago.
The defendant deeply respected and felt in debt to Dr. Watson. Isn't that right? Yes, Dr. Watson was an outstanding teacher. So then, how do you feel about the English exchange student who robbed the doctor of his life? Naturally, I hated her. Yes, and very intensely too. Hori-sama, you really shouldn't have... Her motive was revenge and nothing less, Your Honor.
It would seem that that was a trap.
How could he use Hori-sama's pure feelings of gratitude toward her professor like that? I need to get my hands on some useful information for Iori-sama's sake.
What are we looking at? What are we looking at? It's the same 3 choices again. So, swimming, just the 2 of them we still need to look at. So let's... just the 2 of them.
May I ask something, Iori-sama? Yes? What is it, Susato? Naruhodo-sama. Perhaps it would have been wiser to make my name Susato Ryotaro. For starters, what were you doing swimming with that woman? And alone with her at that?
Because she's a lesbian.
No, you've got it all wrong. At the time, there were other people there too, such as the detective acting as her bodyguard. I just accompanied her because I was invited to do so.
Wait, why? Why was she invited?
However, the important point here is, at the moment when the murder occurred, the 2 of you were in fact alone together in the hut.
This whole dialogue is just very suggestive.
Incidentally, there is only one reason that this girl agreed to go swimming with them. That was because it was her last chance to rob the victim of her life. No. After all, she was due to be transferred to Shanghai the very next day. And once that happened, she could never lay hands on her again. Please, refrain from making baseless assumptions.
The prosecutor is rather impudent in his manner. However, what you need right now is information. You have no choice but to simply put up with it.
I'm afraid of what might happen, but I need to gather more information. As her lawyer, the phrase I feel like I better ask for more information about is...
Swimming!
If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie. What is it, you baby-faced hick student?
Wow!
Just what do you mean by swimming? Ha! I suppose it's too highbrow a concept for a hick like you to understand. Swimming refers to a new method of exercise brought over from the West. Swimming in seawater relieves illness and soothes the skin.
Smooths the skin?
No, that's not what I was asking. Giselle Bullitt was a detestable murderer. What was a criminal like that doing playing around on the beach?
Yes, I'd like to know this too.
To make memories, apparently.
Excuse me?
Giselle Bullitt was to be transferred to Shanghai the next day.
There's a specific term for the swimming that they're talking about, but I had to look at a different script for it, because it was, I was looking at another script and they described the activity in a different way, and I don't know what it is off my head at this point, so. Where did I? Okay.
She said she wanted her last memory to be of enjoying herself in our ocean. Intense pressure from the British Embassy was put on our government to allow it. You mean they conceded to that request?
It sounds as though our nation is as weak against foreign nations as ever. If it's in the name of diplomacy, we don't even have the courage to refuse a criminal's nonsense, it would seem.
Don't look at me like that! The one who gave consent was the government! They decided that it wouldn't be an issue if she was kept close watch over by a detective.
And yet, a murder still occurred.
Don't look at me like that! The one who did it is that student girl!
The prosecution will please refrain from making assumptions. It looks like it would be best not to carelessly provoke the prosecutor. I believe we have a clear understanding of the facts of this case. In the 9 months since Giselle Bullitt was found guilty, she was permitted to continue her research at the university without ever seeing the inside of a jail cell. Naturally, she would have run into Murasami-kun on campus occasionally. The murderer responsible for robbing her favorite professor of his life was able to carry on without having to pay for her crime. even though it was only temporary until her transfer was arranged. I think it's only natural that she would have felt hatred towards her.
Ori-sama.
Now then, Your Honor, if you could please have a look at this. It's a photograph depicting the state of the crime scene exactly as it was.
It's quite a brutal sight.
As you can see, it would have been impossible for anyone to conceal themselves inside the hut.
I like how the swan is just literal. That swan, man. The court accepts this photo into evidence. Crime scene photo. A photo of the crime scene taken by the police right after the murder. The victim can be seen to have been stabbed in the back. The defendant and the victim were alone in the closed-off crime scene. I must admit, the circumstances are quite suspicious. Well, it's been 9 months, so I'm sure the babies don't need mommy swan anymore. They should be fine.
Of course they are, but that's not all, Your Honor. The prosecution is prepared to definitively prove the defendant's crime. The crucial evidence is the testimony of the witnesses who saw the moment of the crime.
Witnesses? There were witnesses?
I thought they were just the two of them. And the detective.
And on top of that, one of those witnesses was an outstanding detective with the Imperial Police. I, Ouchie, declare that there can be no room for doubt in their testimony.
The swan stab! In that case, Prosecutor Ouchie, you may begin to make your case.
I, Prosecutor Aochi Taketsuchi, have been waiting for this moment.
What?
Indeed, 9 months ago, in the Supreme Courthouse, that unforgettable judgment was passed. I was made to suffer humiliation by a mere self-important student.
Pain, please.
Naruhodo Ryunosuke!
Yes.
The Ouchi clan will never forget my grudge towards you.
The prideful will be tripped up by the young. History has proven that to us. You do well to engrave what you feel in this moment upon your heart. Okay, I'll make perfectly sure not to include the DLC outfit ever in case 1 then. Also, it is super weird for me to be reading any of Asogi's lines because that's usually Final's job.
If you tap on a short head, you will hear the sound of civilization and enlightenment. Indeed, the Edo period ended for me.
Sounds as though you took your time entering the age of the Meiji Restoration.
Shut up! After the day I swore by revenge, a small miracle occurred. Behold, here on my forehead. Upon my plains, which I once thought to be barren, a sprout known as hope has appeared.
I can feel a small ray of hope radiating from Prosecutor Aochi's forehead. I'm afraid I'm not able to see it. Where is this hope you speak of?
I thought I told you to shut up! Today, I will slaughter this hick student who bears the same name, Naruhodo. And I shall dedicate my victory to my hope. You best prepare yourself. Now then, prosecution's witnesses, you may now enter the courtroom.
It appears that today's trial will be a major showdown, with high stakes for both sides.
Please, don't put Hori-sama on the same level as his tiny crop of bangs.
Pain is killing my voice, by the way. Oh no, Soseki's gonna kill my voice even more. Hi, Soseki!
Now then, if each of you could state your names and occupation.
This disguise allows me to hide myself from the world. How?
I'm a detective with the Imperial Police, and my name is Hosanaga Satoru.
I am a future prolific literary master whose name already reverberates throughout this grand imperial city. The author of the smash hit novel, I Am a Cat, which is now being serialized. Natsumi Soseki.
Hi! Hi, Mr. Reporter back there.
At ease there, hard-working hick student. No need to tense your shoulders in my presence.
Right.
I suppose it's only natural that you would be nervous in front of a shining celebrity like me.
Soseki, what the heck happened to you?
Okay. What's Soseki-sama doing here?
Be careful, Susato. You met that author back in London. He realizes who you really are, it's all over.
Yes, I know. Natsume Soseki-sama. I couldn't possibly forget him. He seems to have grown a bit stranger since I last saw him. That detective's outlandish appearance looks a bit overshadowed as well.
That's quite a look you're giving me.
A look? Huh? Speaking of looks, it doesn't look like the detectives recognize
What? Sorry, the script is...
It doesn't look like the detective recognizes me either. That's lucky.
Oh, could it be because of the way I'm dressed? I took it upon myself to replicate my appearance from the time that I witnessed the murder. If you're going to bother doing it in the first place, then testify perfectly. That's my philosophy. I can understand what a detective with the Bureau Police was doing there, but what led to an author like you witnessing the event?
Well, how shall I put this? On the day of the murder, I, the author, was summoned to give a lecture. I spent the morning in the large lecture hall at Yume Imperial University.
At Yume University?
And after my lecture, I participated in a pleasant conversation in one of the medical research labs. With the professor there, as a matter of fact.
What? With Professor Mikotoba?
Yes, it was coordinated by a certain newspaper company. They thought that two fellow exchange students to England could have a lot to discuss.
You see, as a widely discussed literary figure, I'm receiving total coverage. My every mood is laid bare, just like this.
Right.
The details of our conversations are laid out explicitly in this paper. You do well to read it too, hard-working student. I seem to have purchased a few too many copies.
Thank you very much. He's shoving the newspaper in my face.
Soseki's newspaper article. A newspaper detailing a conversation between my father and Natsumi Soseki. He seems to have been very lively. Yeah, considering the picture on there. Look at this picture! Hold on. What is this thing? Look at that picture! Dynamic pose! This right here is the Meiji edition of the dab pose.
In any case, after I finished the conversation with the good professor there...
Whoops.
A certain English lady appeared in the laboratory and suddenly said, "It would be an honor to be able to see the Japanese sea with you all."
As I mentioned previously, that woman was never arrested. Even after that trial, she continued her research in my lab under supervision. Why is she still researching?
Yan University hurriedly consulted with the government and granted permission for that, so long as she was supervised by a detective.
I will not conceal the fact that the supervising detective in question was me, Hosanaga.
And so they all harmoniously set out for the swimming area together.
I was given the task of shooing other people away from the area of the beach. It was quite a chore. I've been in exceptionally good health recently, so... As you can see, I managed to perfectly prepare myself to fulfill my duty.
Detective, It appears that there really is something on your face this time. Oh my, begging your pardon. By the way, Father, did you also go to the beach?
I didn't, unfortunately. I didn't. Fortunately, I had some work to do. In my place, unfortunately. Murasami-kun, who was assisting in my lab, was invited. Oh, okay, that's why she went.
I thoughtlessly went along as I was bid to, but... if only I hadn't gone. Just look what I had to witness. Filled with regret!
Now then, the court will hear a testimony about the facts of the incident you encountered at that fateful beach. Very well, Your Honor.
Filled with regret.
Let me take like a couple seconds to break here. I need to drink. That was exhausting. What are we at? The 1 hour? Have it been streamed for an hour? Oh my god. I need water and a breather. Ugh. That was a long introduction. Do I need memes? What kind of memes are we talking about here? Ugh. Sorry, I just give me a little bit to stretch out here. Soseki is the most Soseki and Aochi are so exhausting to voice because they're just full of energy and intensity, especially Soseki. Saji by Jaws. Okay. Oh my god, Meowsy. Please. So I'm pretty sure at this point, that reporter more than likely will probably be a witness because, like, it was really quick, and I couldn't really say anything because I was trying to read dialogue. But if you notice, on his hand there was a little ink splotch on his hand, so I have a feeling he's probably going to be a witness later on. And let's see, future casting. I probably will cast Haori and probably that reporter from the looks of things because, like, I'm already pretty set with Hosonaga and Soseki. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm gonna get anyone to play Mr. Mikatoba yet. Only because we don't have a lot of, like, at least in my crew, there's not a lot of, like, the deeper range adult voices that I can work with. I don't have many of those resources here. Like, I could have I could have my friend playing Gyaradev to play Mikatoba, but he's already playing Gyaradev, so I don't know yet. I'll have to think on that a little bit more. Okay, let's see. Let's see how long this will take. Let's see if I can get through these testimonies and maybe stop when we get the reporter up, if we can get him. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, let's do this again. Alright, the scene we witnessed. That day, I'd been assigned a special mission, so I dressed like this for observation.
I was playing with a crab on the sand when suddenly I heard a scream behind me.
Not a crab.
When we dashed into the hut, those two were in there.
Ah! That maiden was straddling the English lady and stabbed her fiercely with the blade she had in her hand.
I saw blood on the blade as she lifted it. I suppose you could say that this is proof that she stabbed her more than once. Crap battle! I don't think Soseki would win that battle. We need more Metal Gears. It certainly sounds as though you witnessed the exact moment of the detestable crime. How is that a symbol? Oh man, I'm sorry, I only just started working on that Nightbot, so he might do some weird stuff.
And here I have one more item as promised. I suppose you could call it decisive evidence.
Is that what they call a fountain pen? Wow, we were just talking about the reporter with ink on his pen, now we have the fountain pen.
I discovered this when I examined the body at the scene of the crime. The victim, in her final moments, gathered the last of her strength and seized the piece of evidence which had fallen into the sand and indicated her killer.
What? Your Honor, would you mind taking one more look at the crime scene photo that was presented earlier?
But that's... The victim seems to be intentionally gripping something. The item discovered inside her hand was the fountain pen that was just presented. Your Honor, if you could look carefully at this fountain pen. Oh! The owner's initials are engraved upon the ebonite grip. HM. Horis Murasame. They're a perfect match with the defendant's initials.
No!
The court accepts this fountain pen as vital evidence. Fountain pen. The victim was holding it. The initials HM are engraved on the grip.
So, what do you think of that? Definitive testimony? Conclusive evidence? There's another blue summer sky outside today. Perfect conditions for a guilty verdict, if you ask me.
Oh, those are perfect conditions for an innocent verdict. Excuse me.
So, this is Prosecutor Ochi-sama. He has a completely different level of intensity than he did 9 months ago.
Now then, Attorney Naruhodo, your cross-examination, if you please. Attorney Naruhodo!
Naruhodo. Do you mean, she? I mean, me.
Do you see any other Naruhodos here?
Actually, there's not even one Naruhodo here.
Please, get a grip, cousin Ryotaro.
I've stood in court numerous times as a legal aid. In order to expose the witnesses' lies, I must find contradictions in their testimonies. That is the duty a defense attorney is charged with during a cross-examination. I have no choice but to try.
Alright, let's do this. Ooh, okay. Pressing... Looks like we're pressing all the statements?
You were dressed in that festive-looking outfit.
Indeed I was. Wait, don't get the wrong impression. It certainly wasn't because that was the first time I've ever gone swimming at the beach in my life. Watch her, discreetly. That was the special mission I was assigned that day.
Watch discreetly.
Being able to conceal one's presence is another important duty of the detective. I hid myself in the salty ocean and peeked above the surface with the turtle. I played the part of a turtle enjoying a leisurely swim.
Was it really that important for you to hide yourself?
And if it caused you to be delayed in arriving at the crime scene, I say you got your priorities backwards. Oh, I'll have to fix Mr. Nightbot, the next time I stream. Or at least before I stream.
Perhaps
Perhaps it's better if I don't pursue this particular point any further.
Mister, I'm playing with the crab here. Her freaking hold is so cute.
So should I be correct in assuming that that was the victim's scream?
Well, if I were to state it in more literary terms, I suppose I'd say it was a piercing shriek. Eek! That was what it sounded like. Although I suppose at the very least, mine was not nearly as piercing as hers was.
Soseki-sama, you didn't used to be like this.
In any case, when I whirled around, my gaze fell upon that hut.
When you say that hut, you mean...
That area is often visited by high-ranking government officials who own villas there. It's a quiet beach that locals aren't permitted to enter. A simple shack was built there as a changing and break area.
Well, that English lady claimed that shack all for herself, so... I had no choice but to change into my swimming suit out on the beach.
That does sound rather embarrassing.
Anyway, I threw the crab and ran for the hut. Well, if I were to state it more literary terms, I suppose I'd say I tossed it aside as if I were a crab.
Crabs can't be... What? Okay. We dashed to the hut.
When you say those two, you can't mean...
No, there's no can't mean about it. Of course, it was the victim, the English lady, and the defendant, Murasame Hori.
Oh, then you should have said so sooner.
It seems that you jumped to your own conclusions, and now you're getting yourself all disappointed.
There wasn't even any hope to begin with. How foolish.
He says as he taps his own hope.
So, what were the two of them doing when you arrived?
I suppose one could say that events were unfolding with great vigor and force. When I lifted the curtain and entered the hut, the poor English lady had collapsed upon the sand, and the demonic-looking defendant was on top of her. The sight was so shocking that I thought it would shatter my glasses.
It sounds like it must have been terrible to behold.
Oh. Doesn't look like he's lying. So then, you witnessed the same scene, Soseki-sama.
Oh, ho, ho, you're asking me now.
Straddling the English lady. Okay. I don't know, that sentence is very iffy.
She stabbed her fiercely, and you witnessed this clearly.
Whoops. Sorry, she was talking deep, wasn't she?
I did. Flying death agony. The splatter of crimson blood. Soseki tossing a crab. The detective wearing a turtle. Ah! Even now, the scene is burned clearly in the back of my earlobes and the undersides of my eyelids.
That sounds painful.
That's how the future prolific literary master, Natsumi Soseki in the flesh, feels after having witnessed it. Defense! What's with that shrill, girly scream just now?
Right. I mean, I'm a Japanese man through and through.
Pardon me, Mr. Arthur. There's something I'd like to ask you. Just now, I believe you said, that's how you feel, correct?
So in other words, could I take that to mean you're not quite sure that's what you saw?
Soseki.
No! That's a definite no! These ears of mine definitely heard that scream, and these eyes of mine definitely saw blood. Why, I couldn't even include a vivid description of the scene in the portion of my novel that's being serialized in tomorrow's paper. It sounds like tomorrow's installment of I Am a Cat will be stained with crimson blood.
It seems that author is the type whose assumptions grow stronger the more they called into question.
Troublesome is the only word to describe that.
I saw blood on the blade she lifted. Suppose she could say she was stabbed more than once. Okay, pretty sure there's only one stab wound. Okay, hold on. We are actually getting to look at the autopsy report, so let's look at that. Okay, so it says right here. Victim, Giselle Bullet, female, English. Approximate time of death, around 2 p.m. August 11th. Determined via investigation and eyewitness testimony. Page 2 says, cause of death. A single deep stab wound in the back, which punctured the lung and caused death due to blood loss. Death occurred within minutes of the attack. Remarks, pupils in both eyes were confirmed to be fully contracted. There's probably a reason why that description was added there. Anyway, we're gonna present that at this description apparently.
Bless!
Letting out that shout at the top of my lungs just now made me realize something. Whenever Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-sama were defending someone, they were facing off against something truly enormous.
What is it? You trying to threaten me, you hick student?
Witness, allow me to confirm something.
Yes, what do you want from me?
No, I was referring to you, I wasn't referring to you, Soseki-sama. I was referring to Detective Hosonaga-sama.
To me?
In your testimony, you stated the following. The killer stabbed the victim several times.
Yes, after all, when we entered the scene of the crime, the victim had a dreadful, crazed expression as she waved about a small knife covered in blood.
However, that is impossible.
What? What do you mean, defense?
Oh! The following is clearly recorded in the corpse inspection report. The victim was stabbed. No more than once.
Oh, the music stopped. Now I'm sad.
Therefore, Detective Hosonaga's testimony contains an obvious contradiction.
Gonna let that play! Gotta get a drink of water, gonna let that play! Bless, I love how she has like a slow version and an actual objection version, just like how Naruhodo does. It's great!
Also, Soseki-sama.
Me?
Apparently, you saw the moment when Hori-sama stabbed the victim.
Haori, excuse me. God, her name's hard.
Yes! Well, you see, she sort of, fiercely went like...
However, both of you also testify that the blade she was swinging around already had blood on it.
What of it?
Think about it. She was only stabbed once with a small knife. In that case, it wouldn't make sense for there to have already been blood on the weapon.
You're right!
Defense! Then, what on earth does this mean?
Yes, Your Honor. There's only one conclusion that can be drawn. What you witnessed, Soseki-sama, was not the moment that the victim was stabbed. It was the moment that the knife had been stabbed... it was the moment that the knife had...
Why can't I read today? What is this?
It was the moment that the knife that had stabbed the victim was pulled out of the body.
No! Don't look at me like that!
Well done, Susato. With that one shrill objection, you seem to have found your footing.
It's been a while since I experienced this feeling.
I'm so sorry, Meowsy. I had a feeling that's why you stopped typing. Yeah, I'll fix the Nightbot the next time I stream. Okay.
There was a situation where a dim-witted youngster raised this lazy objection and made quite a stink for us respectable adults.
Indeed, there was. However, the conclusion was that the dobering old respectable adult suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of that so-called dim-witted youngster.
Silence! I'm not senile yet! In any case, all this talk of the number of stab wounds and stabbed this and pulled out that has absolutely no bearing on this case.
And why might that be?
Now listen up. Think about it this way. Murasame Hayori first plunged the knife deeply into the victim once, and that was a fatal wound. And then, as she was pulling the knife out, intending to stab the victim again, she was seen. In which case, there would be absolutely no issue with there being blood on the blade, correct? So this Hicks student has proven just one thing. That this mustache literary master is overly hasty, and nothing more. Ah!
All these animations she has like Naruhodo. Oh, hey, Benedict! You have a point. If the statement about the defendant brandishing the weapon is indeed true, then I must admit that that makes her incredibly suspicious.
But, Your Honor, if she was in fact removing the knife and not stabbing her...
It's the same thing!
The same?
Now then, Hicks student, allow me to ask you just one thing. If that schoolgirl is indeed innocent, then why? Why on earth would she go to the trouble of pulling the knife that had stabbed the victim with that demonic expression on her face? If you can come up with a plausible reason, I'd love to hear it.
The reason Hori-sama removed the knife.
I see. He's attacking the weak point in your case.
Huh? What does that mean?
Now then, defense, let us hear your answer.
To be honest, I'm not completely sure myself. But I have to indicate some sort of possibility here. A reason that Hori-sama might have removed the knife from the body is...
to stab her again, to save her, to hide the weapon. There's a note here, so what I'm gonna pick... He's always a baka. Anyway, what I'm about to pick is the wrong answer. I'm gonna save first. But that is only because I actually have the translation for it, so we're gonna take that. So this is to hide the weapon.
Well, maybe she wanted to hide the weapon?
However, the knife was found sticking out of the sand at the scene of the crime.
Perhaps she realized upon pulling it out that there was nowhere to hide it and simply stuck it there instead.
It would seem that the defense would do well to look that answer over again.
Begging your pardon, Your Honor. I knew it. The pressure of standing in this position is terrifying.
Be that as that may, that's no excuse to speak without thinking.
Please, give me one more chance.
Let's see, so the answer is to save her? Save her? To save her.
According to the corpse inspection report, the victim did not die instantly. Indeed, it's likely that she was conscious for a short time after.
The victim was actually clutching a piece of evidence that indicated her killer, you see.
Regardless, Haori-sama, an assistant in the medical department, saw the victim suffering before her very eyes. She removed the knife in an attempt to save her life.
Did you hear that, Your Honor? It seems that this is the best this Hicks student can do.
So it would seem.
Oh, what's this curious chill I feel all of a sudden?
I have a request, Your Honor. What might that be? Allow me to testify one more time. Regarding the vague statement this Hicks student just made.
Vague?
A splendid idea, Detective. It would seem that though this Hicks student does indeed possess a knowledge of the law, but he does not possess even an inkling of an inkling when it comes to forensic medicine. Or perhaps I should say he doesn't even possess common sense.
Very well, Detective. The court requests your testimony regarding the claim the defense just made. I, Hosonaga, shall speak plainly. Okay. The basics of forensic medicine. Carelessly removing a knife that has been stabbed deeply into the body causes massive blood loss. This is considered common sense medical knowledge. The defendant, being an assistant in the medical department, should know this. In other words, there's no such thing as a plausible reason to pull the knife out. Additionally, that schoolgirl had a motive for murdering the victim. And that would be the murder of her respected Professor Watson 9 months ago. Hosonaga, like... Really, you need to get that checked. I'm surprised they still allow you to work, all things considered.
Is what the detective just stated true? Would removing the knife from a body really cause massive blood loss?
Perhaps it would help to think of the blade that had been stabbed into the body as a stopper in the wound. Until one is prepared to administer professional medical treatment, one should never go recklessly pulling out the knife.
I see.
Ha! This is why I can't stand dealing with you Hicks who know nothing of the world. Even including a quack doctor from your little town. Anyone who's ever thrust a knife into someone and then yanked it back out knows that.
Oh, I've never stabbed anyone nor yanked it back out.
And I certainly don't recall raising you to be the kind of girl who would.
Father, is what they just said true?
It is an incredibly basic medical fact. There's no way Murasame-kun is unaware of it. And if she were, that in and of itself would be fatal in its own way.
So then why on earth would Haori-sama have pulled the knife out, in spite of knowing that it would be fatal?
I'm afraid I don't know.
Haori-sama didn't breathe a word to me about the knife. I hate to even think such a thing, but what if Haori-sama really did...
No, don't think that! Susato!
Yes, sir!
Focus now! You can't go losing sight of your current position. Now then, the defense will conduct its cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor!
However, your cross-examination... I need to take this call, my phone is ringing. Sorry, I could not. I could not ignore that phone call because it was work. It was work related. I can't exactly ignore that. Anyway, where was I? Okay, if your cross-examination does not yield some sort of discrepancy in the facts, I shall hand down my verdict at once.
Yes, Your Honor. think that believing in my client and fighting for her until the bitter end would be such a heavy burden.
Also, I will warn you right now, there might be some background noises happening in a little bit. The basics of forensic medicine. Here we go again. Now, what are we doing here? Oh, we're skipping. We're going to the fifth statement? Okay, carelessly, common sense. Okay, this statement is about the murder of her respected Professor Watson 9 months ago. The reason why she would, her motive basically. So, looks like we're pressing that. No, we're not pressing that. I don't have the text for this, I'm sorry. She just went right through it, okay. Oh, I see what she did. I see what she's basing up. So I'm literally playing through this game like I'm playing like how Boltz played it, because she was using Bolt's video at the time to translate. Sorry, I do not have the text for that. I do have the text for this, though.
It's no good. There isn't a single weak point in his testimony. I mean, now that we know that pulling the knife of the wound was dangerous, I can't think of any good reason for her to have done so.
Susato, at times like these, it's always a good idea to return to the basics.
Basics?
To put it in legal terms, return to the evidence. There should be something in there you can use to poke a hole in the testimony.
But I've already re-examined the evidence several times now.
You seem to have forgotten one important thing. It's possible to examine evidence more closely.
Oh.
This is your first time standing in court as a defense attorney, after all. If you need a rundown on what to do, feel free to ask.
Examining evidence. Do I need him to explain?
Nope.
Come to think of it, both Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-sama would always manipulate and turn each piece of evidence every which way, wouldn't they? Yeah, all I have to do is touch the details button.
Judging by the look in your eyes, it's all come back to you. Let's have a closer look at the evidence. We might be able to find a clue.
Yes, sir. I'll get right on that.
Alright, this is the first statement, and what we're going to be examining is the fountain pen. So let's look at this thing. Okay. Warning, there might be sounds soon. Background sounds.
There's some sort of insignia here.
This insignia could belong to... Wait, what? Did I pick the right thing? This does not look like the dialogue. Hold on a second. What? Oh, right, I did look at the wrong thing. This is the wrong dialogue. Okay, found the right dialogue. Here we go. Give me a second. Let me do that again. I was looking at the wrong dialogue.
HM is clearly engraved here.
What? I can't hit it? What? It won't let me talk? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess it won't let me. The dialogue was, HM is clearly engraved here. Since the victim was holding this, it's obvious that it's significant in some way. Because it indicates the killer? No doubt this piece of evidence is the key to this case. Alright. Sometimes reading instructions are hard.
There's some sort of insignia here. It doesn't belong to Yuma University's medical department.
This insignia could belong to some sort of organization, or perhaps a company. Either way, it seems unlikely to belong to Murasame-kun. Alright, there's an update. The initials HM are engraved on the grip, also bears something that appears to be an insignia. Okay. Uh-oh, I'm gonna have to pause, Yep. Pausing, sorry! Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Someone has just returned home, and so there would have been a lot of noise in the background. I didn't want that. Alright, so I'm in the backside of this now? Okay.
This is the newspaper that I received from Soseki-sama. There's a rather large article on the back page. Exclusive scoop. Powerful drug stolen from Yume Imperial University Medical Research Lab.
She was poisoned, wasn't she?
Medical Research Lab. Father, don't tell me it means yours.
Wait, this article. Stolen, it says.
I received it from Soseki-sama. Soseki-sama? It's this morning paper. Does this mean you didn't know about this?
As part of the management, I'm reluctant to say so, but I didn't receive any such news. Damn, this reporter. Where did he get this information?
Come to think of it, the paper that was delivered to our house didn't have such an article.
The powerful drug mentioned was a deadly toxin being developed in utmost secrecy in my lab. The one who had been entrusted with its management was Murasame-kun.
What? Haori-sama was...
If what this article says is true, then it would mean that she hid this burglary incident from me. And that information was leaked to outside sources.
No!
We better read this article closely. An article about some poison that was stolen from Yume Imperial University's Medical Research Lab. Even my father, the head of the lab, wasn't aware. Can we just talk about the fact that Takumi really likes his poisons? Because this is like the second time we've had a poison case so far in this series. Okay. Okay, it looks like we're pressing on this. They're so saying is a plausible reason to pull the knife out.
Someone she knew had just been stabbed and was lying on the ground bleeding.
It's entirely possible. Oh, there goes my stylus. It's entirely possible that a fragile young girl might be deeply shaken by that and carelessly pulled out the knife without thinking. This isn't something that can be brushed aside with carelessly and without thinking. I can't imagine that a medical assistant would do something so irrational.
However, it's not unheard of for a maiden's heart to become irrational when she's shaken.
Are you speaking from experience? I pick up my stylus. Oh dear. Thinking you understand will only come back to bite you in the end. I'm talking, of course, about a woman's heart. The swan is a parasite!
Actually, I've got one of my own in this chest of mine.
So, do you understand this basic medical fact now? Okay, we're presenting on the last statement? There's no plausible oh, no. We're going back to this statement. Okay. Looks like we're presenting the newspaper here. Nope! Nope! See, there's a reason why I stream this before I play through these games before I do my LPs. I need to review the material so we don't have this situation. Okay, what am I... You don't need to explain that tutorial. I know it. I just can't figure out where I'm presenting. Hold on a second. presenting this darn thing? Where am I looking here? Wait a minute, did I present the wrong side of the newspaper? Is that what it is? Uh-oh. Maybe that's what it was. This has happened to me very often in this game. There we go! I was on the right statement, I just presented the wrong side of the newspaper. I actually didn't realize it gave me another piece of the newspaper until I looked again.
There's only one possibility I can think of. One plausible reason as to why she would have pulled the knife out of the victim's body. What did you say?
Ha! This is just this Hicks student who doesn't know the first thing about forensic medicine, being a sore loser. Just what possibility could you possibly have?
That can be found here in this newspaper article. It says here that a powerful drug was stolen from the medical research lab at UMA Imperial University.
The victim was stabbed to death. Poison has nothing to do with this case.
But
Prosecutor, let us at least hear his claim to the end.
But, Your Honor, newspapers are nothing but trash that spread a mixture of truth and lies.
Defense. Please indicate the basis for your claim. Where in this article is the section that supports your claim?
Your Honor!
thank you for giving me this chance, Your Honor. Haori-sama would never endanger the victim's life for no reason. The portion of the article that indicates the reason the defendant pulled a weapon out is...
Fake 2. The powerful drug stolen paragraph, the causes death in small doses paragraph, and why was the poison developed? Causes death in small dosage. I think that's what we're looking at. Yes.
The following is written about the deadly poison in this article. The poison is absorbed by coating a blade in it and plunging it into the body. It causes death within minutes. What did you say? If the weapon that stabbed the victim were covered in this deadly poison, the defendant, Haori-sama, would need to pull the knife out of the victim as quickly as possible. That's right. To prevent that deadly poison from entering the body. Ah!
Yari! Here I was listening with a smile, and yet what a joke!
This is no joke! The reason the defendant pulled the blade out was surely not to kill the victim. It's possible that she was, in fact, trying to save her.
Why don't you try looking at that corpse inspection report? The victim's cause of death is blood loss. The word poison doesn't appear anywhere in here.
Because you people don't have the materials to look for poison yet. Or certain poisons.
Well, no doubt she managed to pull the knife out quickly enough that she successfully prevented the poison from...
Ridiculous! That's enough sophistry out of you. There's nothing even linking that bizarre poison to this case, for starters. Not only that, but we can't even be sure that what this article is saying is true.
The proper course of action for a medical assistant in that situation is to wait for the necessary tools to treat the patient to arrive. And yet what she did instead was go and remove what she suspected to be a poison weapon. She better have had a good reason backing that decision.
Right! What he said! What was her reason, you poser?
What made Hori-sama suspected the presence of a stolen deadly poison? If it's a reason you want, she certainly had one.
What?
But that's ridiculous!
The look in your eyes tells me that this is more than just a bluff. Since you call yourself a defense attorney, then naturally you must be aware. In the modern court system, it's evidence alone that determines what is true.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm highly aware of that fact. I saw it firsthand while standing at his side in the court in the Great British Empire.
The court would like to see evidence from the defense. Evidence that shows the link between this case and the deadly poison mentioned in the article. The corpse inspection report.
Could I? Oh, that's so good!
Please direct your attention to the remarks section of the corpse inspection report. Pupils in both eyes were confirmed to be fully contracted. Now, as I'm but a lowly bumpkin student without any knowledge of forensic medicine, perhaps you could tell me. Is the fact that they went to the trouble of including this in the report,
Mean that we can consider this to be an abnormality?
Well,
Normally when a person passes away, it causes their pupils to dilate. In other words, they expand. The fact that they were fully contracted can be considered highly irregular.
hey! Watch what you say, you rotten hit detective!
the newspaper article says the following about this powerful drug. If the poison penetrates the body, it causes the pupils to constrict to a size that is similar to that of a pinprick.
What?
When the defendant, Hori-sama, saw the knife sticking out of the victim's back, and noticed that her pupils are constricted to the size of pinpricks.
Her first suspicion would be that poison was present. It's only natural for a medical assistant.
What do you say, Prosecutor Aochi-sama? This seems like outstanding proof to me.
You hick student and hick professor!
He sure loves the word hick.
The court's opinion is that the defense has done a lovely job of proving that possibility.
No!
Migatoba Yujin. Yes, Your Honor. You ought to be the most well-equipped person here to determine the veracity of the defense's remarks. You will tell us the truth about the poison in this article. Whew. This is incredibly difficult for me to say, but I had no idea about this. No idea. All our medicines are stored in the lab. I have received no report of it being stolen. You mean there's no truth to the theft claim? Not necessarily. Until I can return to the lab and investigate the situation.
Ha! Some professor you are!
I'll be right back. I gotta close the door.
I like to see him be slapped with that fan.
That research, a national secret, has just been splashed across headlines and you don't even know whether the theft actually happened.
Indeed. This is all due to my negligent management.
Father,
It certainly is. It's all because of the way you are. That you're willing to forgive your pupil so easily for committing murder.
How dare you?
Hold it! Who is talking? Hurry!
Hold it!
Do I have to read the rest of the dialogue?
Professor Mikatoba didn't do anything wrong. Everything is my fault. Arai-sama.
See here, defendant. You can't just jump up on the stand whenever you feel like it. No, please do. I love this.
Actually, it was me. I was the one who noticed that day that the poison we were in the middle of developing had been stolen.
What?
You, Arai-sama? I was responsible for the safekeeping of those medicines. That day, after Professor and Natsumi Soseki-sama finished their conversation, I noticed that just a little bit of some of the medicine in our lab was missing.
Why did you not report that to me immediately?
I was frightened by the fact that the secret poison had been stolen. So I decided to try to recover it before anyone noticed. Because I knew what the thief's intentions were.
The thief?
You don't mean... Yes, that lovely-faced English woman, of course.
Giselle Bullet.
That's why I went swimming with her that day. I confronted the English woman in that small shack. She just sat at the back of the room, smiling unconcernedly at me. I know you stole it! Return it at once!
I haven't the faintest idea what you're referring to.
And then, when she attempted to get to her feet from where she'd been sitting, she dropped to her knees before me and collapsed on the ground. There was a knife sticking out on her back. I don't even know what in the world happened. Then, the next moment I was frozen with fear. Her pupils had constricted to the size of pinpricks.
What? You know, that's a good question. What is that bottle that's on the judge's table? I was like, what bottle are you talking about? I had to look at the thing, but yeah, I don't know what that bottle is. It's not ink, I don't think. You mean to say that the poison that had been stolen from the research lab had been used?
I lost my mind. That woman hadn't let a single thing pass her lips since I'd been watching. Which meant that there was only one feasible method by which the poison could have entered her body. The knife sticking out of her back.
So the reason you pulled out the knife...
Yes, if the amount of poison that had penetrated her body was small enough, there would still be hope. That's what I was thinking. I'm I'm deeply sorry for not having said anything until just now.
We cannot simply let you off the hook for having hidden these details. However, the court respects the courageous confession you just made.
Thank you very much! If I'm not mistaken, I believe I felt the atmosphere in the courtroom shift ever so slightly.
You mustn't let her fool you, Your Honor. You claim the victim just suddenly collapsed before her in pain? Then by all means, tell us how the victim was stabbed. It happened right in front of you, did it not? Well, this schoolgirl stabbed her to get revenge. All the facts point unmistakably to that conclusion.
However, you lack conclusive evidence.
If it's proof you want, then I've got it. There's nothing more conclusive than this.
Excuse me, there was more to that dialogue, my bad.
That was odd. The prosecutor. I feel like he hesitated just for a moment there.
You will present your evidence to the court then, Prosecutor Ouchie.
Allow me to extend you a compliment, hick student.
Huh?
I I didn't think I would need to present this.
Really?
Suck on this!
That's in the script, I'm sorry! This. What a ghastly scene this photo depicts. I can't believe that's actually written there. Suck on this, really?
Nothing exposes the true killer more clearly than this piece of evidence. Here, we can see the very moment that Murasame Haori committed her crime. No, this is just...
Okay, but who took that picture, though?
It can't be.
No! I love outdated autopsy reports. Here's an update. Order, order, order. Thank you. This is actually, this stream is actually for me to review the material so I can actually do my LP on the YouTube later. So there is a lot of awkward moments. Because I'm still trying to, like, read all this dialogue. And, let me tell you, it's pretty exhausting doing all the voices, which is why I usually cast people to take some of them off for me. So, look forward to this being a little bit more polished in the future. That was quite a piercing scream from the defense's bench just now.
Perhaps the carefree Hick student is still waiting on his voice to finish its carefree changing.
I know this feeling right now, Susato. It really... bouncing between deep and high with you is hard right now. Careful now. The Susato side of you just slipped out. This photo. I suppose this is what they mean when they say a photo is worth 1,000 words. The court accepts this vital piece of evidence. A photo of the moment of the murder. It shows the victim and my friend, Murasame Haori. But...
who would have thought that there'd be a photo like this? Drat, I'm still at a loss for words after taking such damage. Wait a moment! That photo! Who on earth took that photo?
see, that's what I want to know.
Haori-sama.
You want to know who the photographer is? What does it matter?
What are you saying? Nothing could be more important. This would mean that the photographer witnessed the crime. We must hear that person's testimony.
Ah!
Indeed, the defense makes a valid request. The prosecution will provide information on the photographer who took this photo.
Actually, I don't know.
You what?
This photo was received by the Imperial Police via special delivery. As there was no sender identified, the photographer is unknown.
What?
So then, prosecutor, you intend to submit to the Supreme Court this suspicious photo whose origins are a complete mystery to you.
Just a moment ago, you hesitated briefly before submitting this evidence. That was because you knew that it wasn't ideal evidence, wasn't it?
Hey, shut your mouths! You've got a legendary for a Hick student and a careless professor. The only thing that matters is the truth captured here.
However, the defendant admits to pulling the knife out of the body. Naturally, this is not the moment that the knife was stuck in.
It's the moment it was pulled down. Is that what you wanted to say? Your quibbling is a waste of time.
This is true. Without being able to hear the photographer's testimony, we have no way to confirm one way or the other. And with this photo being inconclusive as it is, unless the defense can indicate a new fact, I shall hand down my verdict.
But
it's time to brace yourself, Susato. If everything you've proven so far is true, then there can be no doubt that this was the moment that the weapon was pulled out.
he's right.
You can cry about it together on the slow train home. But the fact that you ever had the misfortune of crossing paths with me, Aochi Taketsuchi.
If we can't figure out the identity of the person who took this photo, then the trial is over. Is there really nothing here that can give us a clue as to who took it?
In regards to the identity of the photographer, the defense can't prove it. Can prove it. We're gonna prove it. I think we're presenting the pen, aren't we?
It's not a matter of whether I can or can't. I just have to do it. The defense can clearly prove identity of the person who took this photo.
What? But that's ridiculous! There's no way! Alright then, go ahead! Tell us! That person's name!
Unfortunately, I don't know their name.
There, you see? You couldn't even finish your bluff before!
However, I can still prove it. I have evidence that shows who took the photo.
What?
In that case, the defense will present this evidence. What evidence shows who took the photo? The front page of the newspaper.
Could I?
Could I? Oh, there was an I missed a piece of dialogue. There's a dialogue here about examining the newspaper, which I will probably get back to maybe. This is the newspaper from before. Two merry men tell all after returning from England.
What's important is not the article, but the photo. Look closely. You can see a whitish line in the picture.
Quite right. I had to sort of wonder about that.
Ha! It must be a shadow or something! Perhaps a tree branch.
I can't imagine that a tree would have been growing in the research lab of Yume Imperial University.
Now then, please direct your attention towards this photo next.
Oh, they both have the crack. Ah.
Here we can see the exact same whitish line.
That has no bearing on the case! It, must be a shadow or something! Perhaps of a tree branch!
Don't use that excuse again.
There were no trees growing inside the shack.
And it's exactly the same shape in both photos. What on earth could such a mysterious thing mean?
The significance between the same mark being on both photos is,
it's the photographer's signature mark, the camera is damaged, there was a tree! There was a tree! Oh god, I want to pick that one, but I don't have the dialogue for it. The camera is damaged.
it's of course a flaw with the camera.
What? The camera?
It appears that there's a crack in the camera's lens, and we can conclude that that crack showed up in the photos.
In other words, these two photos were taken with the same camera.
But hundreds of cameras are dropped in our empire every day. There's still no way for us to know who owns this camera.
Have you forgotten, Prosecutor Aochi? This is a newspaper article.
Newspaper? Ah!
That's right. The person who wrote this article is the one we're looking for.
Damn it! Kuso!
Mommy mom? Mommy mom? Mommy mommy? I'm sorry, I'm gonna this was in the script. I think he was shouting someone's name. If I can put it on here. Mommy mommy! Oh, this sounds like this is gonna be a pain to say later on. It's one of the merry men who returned from England.
Your testimony is over! Who said you could get on the stand? Like I said, it's Mummy Mo Me, Mummy Mo Me! Mummy Mo Me!
Oh, what? What is this name? Mami Momi, what?
Soseki-sama, just what is this Mame Momi you speak of?
After I returned to Japan from England, one of the reporters from this paper, from the Daily Daikoku, has been covering everything I do. His name is Mami Momi Hita. Hita?
Japanese. Mami Momi Heita. Heita. Mami Momi Heita. Jesus Christ.
His name is Mami Momi Heita, and he covers all my activities from morning to night.
Come to think of it, earlier,
My every move is laid bare, just like this.
there was a reporter with him.
With his right hand, he scribbled down articles. With his left hand, he brandishes his camera. And that reporter's name is Mami Momi Hita.
So then, the person who took this photo was...
It was Mami Momi, Mr. Your Honor, sir.
Bailiff, summon this newspaper reporter to the Supreme Court at once. The court will now take a brief recess.
Yes, Your Honor.
And more, okay, Mame Momi looks more handsome than Spark Bushel too.
As you wish.
And one more thing. The court would like the blade of this knife to be tested for poison. We request the cooperation of the Yume Imperial University's Medical Research Lab. Understood?
But Mami Momi!
Pretty sure Mame Momi should be his last name because all Japanese start with their last name then first, so. Also, we got it to be continue. We did it! We got it to be continue! Sukuku. Oh. Oh, I'm done. Oh, that's it. Okay. Oh, that was a wild ride. Okay, we're gonna report it tomorrow. Tomorrow? Tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. I think tomorrow I can do it. I can do tomorrow. I can stream tomorrow. I can't stream later tonight because I'm tired. My voice needs a rest. Oh, that was exciting though. Don't worry. I'll probably fix the Nightbot, and so he won't cause anyone any more trouble. But yeah, it was good. It was good. It's good. It was a good trial run of this. So I want to say tomorrow around the same time I'll stream again. Yeah, probably. So like, it's like either 1, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Someone is following me and I can't see who's following me. Oh god. Oh, Womp, thank you for following. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, tomorrow I can probably definitely stream. Whew. I'm taking my time with this, man, cause like I don't have all the translations yet. Like I'm still gonna be missing like case 4 and 5. I might have case 3 and I can stream that, but I can't really say right now. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. As soon as this thing goes offline, all my information where you can find me is gonna show up. So I'll see you guys then. I'm gonna go play Overwatch or something and give myself a rest. Thanks, guys. The victim was Dr. John H. Watson. He was English. As I recall, he was an acquaintance of yours, Professor Mikotoba. Formerly, when I studied in London, he taught me forensic pathology. I owe him a great deal. The one who invited him to Yume University as a professor was me. The murder of an Englishman was a case that our nation's government wanted resolved as quickly as possible. And so the Supreme Court tried the case in a top-secret trial. The one who was arrested as a suspect was a student of the Yumei Imperial University, Naruho Ryanosuke. He was a sophomore in the English department. He defended himself with the help of his best friend, a student defense attorney. Rip Zogi! Giselle Bullitt was revealed as the despicable perpetrator. Giselle Bullitt ultimately confessed to her crime, but why did she kill Professor Watson in the first place? The trial concluded without ever establishing a motive.
Right after the trial concluded, the British government invoked consular jurisdiction. We were unable to convict Giselle Bullitt in our country, and she was relocated to Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Great Britain has a consular court in Shanghai, you see. I personally handled the negotiations and coordination for her relocation, but it was only last week that the date for her transfer was finalized. All that was left to do was for her to board the steamship, and our country's role in the incident would be finished.
And it was on the eve of her relocation that the English lady was murdered.
The eve of her relocation.
In any case, the court recognizes this man's qualifications.
Thank you very much. I made it through.
Now then, let's begin by reviewing the facts of the case. If you please, Prosecutor Ouchie.
As you wish, Your Honor. The fearsome incident occurred in broad daylight on August 11th. On the outskirts of the Imperial City, beneath a clear blue sky, it was at a swimming area at the beach, with the scent of a salty sea breeze in the air. Inside a small hut that had been constructed as a changing and break room. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the back with a knife. The blade pierced her lungs. Apparently, it was a fatal wound.
I know, right?
There were only 2 people present at the scene of the crime in the hut. The swimsuited Giselle Bullitt and the defendant, Murasami Haori. The perpetrator couldn't possibly be anyone else. Additionally, this girl had an extremely compelling motive. And that's why the police immediately proceeded with the arrest.
Yes. I will be posting them. How shall I put this? I find myself at a loss for words due to the rather unnatural conditions you just described.
He's right. There were several phrases in that prosecutor's information that caught my ear. As a lawyer, the phrase I feel like I'd better ask for more information about is
Swimming? Just the 2 of them? An extremely compelling motive. The last one. We're gonna ask that. Extremely compelling motive. He didn't tell us what the motive was.
extremely compelling. Could the prosecution please refrain from exaggerating?
Oh my, listen to this hick student with the exaggerated expression.
What?
Ah well, let's try asking the defendant, shall we? Apparently, the defendant is an assistant in the medical research lab.
Yes, I'm currently assisting in Professor Mikatoba's lab.
Murasame-kun is very responsible and a huge help.
How nice. Then allow me to ask just one other question. Which lab were you assisting in before you started in Professor Mikatoba's lab?
Huh? Well... I was studying in the lab of Dr. John H. Watson.
Did you say Dr. Watson? But that's the professor who was murdered by Giselle Bullitt 9 months ago.
The defendant deeply respected and felt in debt to Dr. Watson. Isn't that right?
Yes, Dr. Watson was an outstanding teacher.
So then, how do you feel about the English exchange student who robbed the doctor of his life?
Naturally, I hated her. Yes, and very intensely too. Hori-sama, you really shouldn't have...
Her motive was revenge and nothing less, Your Honor.
It would seem that that was a trap.
How could he use Hori-sama's pure feelings of gratitude toward her professor like...
Well, this is your first time acting as a defense attorney, and your first time wearing that disguise. It's no surprise that even someone as level-headed as you can turn forgetful.
Oh, this is the gravest blunder of my life.
In this case, you should be able to rely on your knowledge as a legal aid to get you through this.
That's right, the court record. All the case information is in the court record.
Correct. First, touch the court record button displayed on the bottom screen. Then, this is the tutorial. Look in the profiles. You better hurry. The judge is watching you.
First, I have to touch the court record button. All the pertinent information should be there.
Now then, defense, your answer, please. What is the name of the victim in this trial? Wow, let's go with the name that's literally all in katakana and not in kanji. Giselle Bullet. We have to have the tutorials.
The victim's name is Giselle Bullet. Giselle Bullet.
That's a name the administration of justice in this country will never forget. Precisely. Anyone involved in this country's administration of justice ought to know the significance of that name. You do well to memorize that name here and now as well. Giselle Bullet was an exchange student sent by England. What was it that ensured that her name would be etched into the history of our country's administration of justice? Okay, Nightbot. I need to fix that, I guess. I don't even know. In the incident 9 months ago, I doubt you could have forgotten, but her true identity is as recorded in the court record. You've got this, right?
Of course, I remember. That case was the beginning of everything. Giselle Bullet. Her identity, hidden behind her status as an exchange student, was...
The victim? The Queen of England? She didn't give me that? Oh, she didn't give me the dialogue for that. So the answer is a murderer from 9 months ago.
9 months ago, a doctor at Yuma University was murdered, and the perpetrator was Giselle Bullet.
A murderer. At the time, our nation had just signed a new alliance treaty with the Great British Empire. The murder occurred in the midst of that incredibly unusual international situation. He's currently studying law locally and was summoned here for this trial. His knowledge of the law is second to none in this imperial city.
I'm second to none.
Oh dear, that's rather pathetic. The Imperial City's defense attorneys refused your request, so you were forced to depend on the likes of this hick student.
Susato-chan is a handsome defense attorney. You'll pay for your mockery.
Susato-chan?
I mean... Hori-sama.
Quite the tomboy, aren't you? But are you sure you're alright with this? This supposed handsome defense attorney. His eye seems to be darting around like crazy.
I feel nearly numb from nerves. Now that I'm in this position for myself, I'm finally understand Naruhodo-sama. The darting eyes are involuntary.
The case we'll be addressing in this trial today is incredibly important to our nation. This trial will have repercussions on the future of the great Japanese Empire.
Not unlike the case 9 months ago. Is it really okay to have an unknown local student as the presiding defense attorney in a case like this?
It seems that before we begin this trial, we ought to have a quiz to determine whether this man is qualified to stand at the defense's bench in the Supreme Court. 9 months ago, when he stood in this court, he was tested too on his qualifications to act as a defense attorney. Though he was only a student, he rose splendidly to the occasion. Your legal aid. This should be no problem for you. I will now proceed to ask some simple questions to the defense.
If there was ever a time that I need to prepare myself, this is it.
I love how she just mimics all of Naruto's poses.
Go right ahead, Your Honor. Please go easy on me.
Now then, let's begin. Please state the name of the victim in this case.
I should be able to do that. I couldn't figure her name even if I tried. Huh?
What's wrong?
Now that I'm in this position for myself, I finally understand. Naruto-sama.
I will try.
The way the mind goes blank is completely involuntary.
I'll try. Well, defense, are you ready? Defense, keep your wits about you.
Ha! Right, my wits!
Defense. According to the application that was submitted, your name is, Naruhodo Ryutaru. Is that correct? I had to come up with the man's name on the spot. So I just made one up and filled it in on the application. Defense, say something.
Yes, I'm Naruhodo in the flesh.
This is one of those things that we're, I think I might want to change this. Hold on a second. I might need to change that in the script later on. So what it is in the Japanese is that she said are, boku, and what? Well, I'm pretty sure she said a lot of different pronouns. And the problem is it's really hard to translate that into English because there's just no like real translation to it. But I think what I'm gonna change that, where she's like saying I'm she or he or something like that. Adding she or he somewhere into this later on when I put this in the LP, so. Sorry, that sounded weird in English to me because I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I was really confused by that particular piece of dialogue. I think you might have gone a bit overboard using the rough masculine pronoun. And if you could settle those darting eyes down and open your ears instead, that would be for the best.
Naruhodo? This is the first time I've ever seen your face here in the Supreme Court. But you said Naruhodo, yes? Could you mean that Naruhodo?
Yes, the Naruhodo Ryanosuke-kun, who is currently studying in English, is his,
He's my cousin.
Yeah, it really is.